Detroit Done 303. Welcome back, Steve. Here, I got another good episode for you today. Another interview from Dan Campbell this morning around mandatory minicamp, and it got me excited. He's saying a lot of good stuff about some players that I've had checked on my list for a little while that I've been kind of holding off, and I feel like Levi Onwuzurike is a player that we have just completely forgotten about. I don't want to say dismissed, but he's been just flying completely under the radar pretty much all this offseason, I feel like. And Dan Campbell, I can't remember who asked, but during his press conference today, someone asked about Levi Onwuzurike and Josh Paschal, and Dan Campbell made some very interesting comments about. Well, first off, he started with saying pretty much, let's keep in mind that we are not in pads, but Levi has had a very, very good spring so far. Dan Campbell looked excited when he was talking about him. I tried to listen to what he says and also read the body language, and I could tell Dan's pretty excited about Levi Onwuzurike. That's a tough name for me to say. I keep saying it over and over, hoping that I'll get better at it, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. He said that Levi had very strong, explosive, good physical reps today. It's exciting. We're talking about a kid who, if you're not very familiar with him, when I say kid, I'm talking about a 6'3", 290-pound man who was drafted out of Washington in 2021, second-round pick, 41 overall. I believe that was the same year Lee McNeil went in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I should have double-checked before I came on here. If I'm wrong, I apologize. 2021, his rookie season, 16 games played, 35 total sacks, 15 solos, 1 sack. Missed all of 2022 with a back injury. Missed his whole second year. I know we were pretty high on him as a second-year player as well. So coming into his third year last year, 2023, injury bug struck him again. Only played in 10 games, 5 tackles, 1 sack. He's been kind of, obviously we got some questions when it comes to availability. What's the best ability? Availability. Levi has not shown that over the last 2 seasons that he can be depended on to be a contributor on this team. But I do feel like there's still something left in the tank. I still feel like there's some juice left to squeeze. Also, in this press conference, Dan Campbell said something that was very, very interesting when it came to Levi. He said that he was getting some reps at edge, that defensive end spot. Now, me personally, what I was thinking about with Levi this year, he was going to be a rotational defensive tackle. I know we got Aleem, McNeil, DJ Reader. Those are going to be the 2 starters. I was kind of thinking Levi would be in that second group. Maybe him and Broderick Martin would be a nice pairing if both of those young guys can step up and be that second wave of defensive tackles. I was really liking that rotation. But when Dan said that he was getting reps at edge, I was kind of surprised because I don't feel like Levi is an elite pass rusher. Are you going to put him out there to set the edge for the run game? I don't know what the game plan schematically would be for Levi, but it does interest me when Dan Campbell said that he was getting reps at edge. I was kind of surprised about that. And then Dan went on to say, talking about defense, he was saying, anytime you can get a rush with just 4 guys, and he was talking about Levi in this sense as well, it changes what your defense can do. Now, normally, your base offensive line is 2 guards, a center, 2 tackles. So you got 5 blockers against 4 offensive linemen. So obviously we're mismatched, but we kind of have a mismatch in the secondary where we have more guys who can cover. So if we're talking our 4 guys are getting pressures with stunts, if Aiden's winning his one-on-ones, DJ Reader is kind of taking up 2 blockers. So I guess we kind of have an even match there with DJ Reader taking on 2 blockers. So if we're getting pressure with our 4 defensive linemen and we're dropping 7 guys in coverage, including linebackers, or maybe we're sending a blitz to even it up a little bit, I don't know. But I want to get into some defensive stats with you guys real quick. I've gone through this before, but it has been a little while. The Detroit Lions last year had 41 sacks as a team. That was the 9th worst. We were in the bottom 10 of sacks last year in the NFL. Does Levi make us better? I don't know that he does. I don't know that he himself alone puts us better, obviously. But like I said, if he can be that rotational piece, that guy that comes in as a second wave. And I'm curious to see if he really is going to be an edge rusher. I guess we'll see when training camp starts. We're just kind of getting a very, very small glimpse or a look into mandatory minicamp that's going on right now. So I don't know how much we'll see. I haven't actually seen any film or highlights. I've been looking on Twitter. So if you guys have anything, give us a follow on Twitter, tag us in that. I'd like to see if you have any video of him rushing from the edge. I'd really like to see that. But I will be watching that as the spring and summer progresses and see how Levi's doing from the defensive tackle position and the defensive end. So like I said, 41 sacks, bottom 10 in the NFL last year. Our defense as a whole is going to get better. And if our second wave of defensive tackles is a Broderick Martin, who's slimmed down, looks a lot leaner, a lot more athletic, him and Levi Onwuzurike are that second wave. If Levi, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want someone to look this up for me too, because I don't have this information because I don't have a PFF account. To get into there, you have to pay for it, and I'm just not willing. I remember seeing that Levi Onwuzurike at one point last year when he was healthy was ranked as a top 5 pressure from defensive tackle position. I could be wrong on that. I took like a little mental snapshot. I wish I had saved that image that I saw on Twitter. If anyone can confirm that for me, it would be greatly appreciated. Here's the thing about PFF too. Sometimes I kind of pick and choose which stats I like that they put out. And I did like that Levi Onwuzurike one, but sometimes when they rank like their quarterbacks and do like their top 32, I don't really know what they're thinking. So I guess I'm kind of picky and choosy when I come to using PFF information. But that was a little while ago when I saw that about Levi. So if someone can confirm that for me, again, greatly appreciated. Detroit Lions, also, let's stick with some more stats here. 330 passing yards allowed in the final 6 games of the season. 330 passing yards per game. That's a ton. That is a ton of passing yards that we were giving up. 247 on the year. We were kind of not in the greatest range defensively when it came to the 247. But that last 6 games, giving up 330, like we're talking about Nate Mullins was a guy that we faced in the last 6 games. Dak Prescott, I feel like his stats were a little boosted there because he had a 92-yard touchdown to CD Lamb on a sack that should have from Derek Barnes that should have been a safety, but we'll let that go. 23.2 points per game, 23rd in the NFL. Not good. That's not good, guys. We got to do better on defense, giving up points. And at one point, I know we were over 30. I did the math on it. We got a little better the second half of the season. And I got to cut Aaron Glenn some slack, man. And I know this isn't an Aaron Glenn episode. I'm talking about Levi Onwuzurike, forgotten about, but 23 points per game. I don't know where it would rank, but if we can get that to like 17, if we can shave about 6 points off per game with this revamped secondary, some key additions on the defensive line with DJ Reader, Matthew Betts, who I talked about yesterday, pretty high on him. If he can get some pressures and be that other edge, James Houston coming back healthy. Aaron Glenn kind of got a raw deal. We had a lot of guys banged up last year. We lost CJ Gardner-Johnson right off the rip, second game of the season. We really never saw Emmanuel Mosley. He was on the field for like 10 seconds, tore his opposite ACL. We were picking up guys on the practice squads from the Chicago Bears, Kendall Vildor. No disrespect, but when you're trotting out guys that were on practice squads of the other team and you're making a push for the NFC Championship, like you're kind of behind the 8 ball there. So Brad Holmes saw that this defense was giving up 23.2 points per game, 330 passing yards, and only getting 41 sacks in on the whole season. It's just something that he really just hunkered down and said, hey, I have to fix this problem. So traded for Carlton Davis, drafted Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, signed Robertson, Brian Branch. I mean, he's going to have a huge second year for the Detroit Lions. I think Brad looked at all the stats that I'm looking at right here and said, how do I fix this? If we can take that 23.2 points per game, I don't think 17 is out of the question. And again, I don't know where that would put us ranking wise in the NFL, but if we can get there with the top 5 offense, I hate to keep, beating a dead horse with this information, but this whole season is going to rely on the Detroit Lions defense. We're only going to go as far as this defense will take us. We know what we're getting offensively, guys. So like I said, Levi Onwuzurike, kind of forgotten about. Someone look up that PFF information for me. If you have an account, tag me. I'm not willing to pay for it. I was trying to find it. Couldn't. This was probably like halfway through the season when I saw this. So I should have saved that. Obviously didn't know that I'd be talking about Levi Onwuzurike on June 5th. So cut me some slack on that one, guys. So leave some comments down below. Let me know how you feel. If you're new here, stick around, subscribe. We'll be back later with another show.